What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Trevor's Vinyl World. Well, my last video talked about the year 1995, and we are going to keep it in 1995. I kind of miss 1995. I think I would have been about 16 years old. I know, man, I think I could maybe dunk a mini ball back then. I know there was a couple years there where if you gave me a mini ball and allowed me to travel, I was like Anthony Edwards, man. No, it was like one of those where you have to reach up and you barely dunk, and one of my neighbors would be like, "Do it again!" Like, that's so cool. Now, man, my knees are killing me just thinking about it. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna keep it in 1995, and this is a what if. What if when Tupac Shakur was locked up, and Suge Knight came to him and basically made a deal with him to sign with Death Row Records, a three album deal, and then Suge paid his $1.4 million bail, and I want to say he paid more legal fees that ended up accruing to be maybe $3 million is what the internet says. It's a little sketchy, but basically Suge Knight put up the money so that Tupac could be released from prison. But let's say, what if Tupac would have said no to that? Obviously, it's very tempting to, you're sitting in prison and a guy comes to you and says, hey, how about instead of just looking forward to your conversary, how would you like to get out of there? Obviously, dangling, freedom in front of you. Tupac was looking at 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison. I want to say he'd already served maybe 6 to 9 months of that when Suge came to him. But this what if is, let's just say Tupac would have said no deal. Because I guarantee you that when you're in that bad of a situation, you are locked up in prison, you know that Suge, as a businessman, did not give Tupac a favorable contract. And Tupac was already in debt. He was looking at everything from lawsuits. He basically was in debt. And I'm not saying that when you're in debt, you should stay in prison. But, looking back on it, he would not have, let's just say, what if he stays in prison? He says no deal. Stays in prison. He could write lyrics. Look forward to when he gets released in, like, let's say another 3. He would have had good behavior. They would have had to keep him segregated. Not only was he a celebrity, but he was in there for sort of sex-related charges. So I think he would have been sort of, guarded in a way that he would have been in like maybe a special unit or whatever. And I'm not saying that that's easy time, but let's say he stays locked up, and so he never would have became involved in the East Coast, West Coast, whatever, because at the time, Suge hated P. Diddy, or Puff Daddy at the time. But Tupac wouldn't have been involved in any of that. And then Tupac would have done his time, and even when he got out, like, let's say he wouldn't have had trouble getting a record label to sign him. But even if he would have, they said that movie executives were just licking their chops with Tupac. I mean, Tupac looked amazing on film, and I think no matter what, he would have ended up being a movie star that just stayed doing movies. Like even if he's going back to music, I think he would have always been doing both. And then eventually you can only be a rapper for so long. I mean, yeah, there are some rappers like LL Cool J or whoever you want to talk about that defy age and they're still rapping past 50. But for the most part, most people aren't rapping when they're 50. And I think Tupac, um, he would have been like one of these movie stars that, you know, whether you're talking about Mark Wahlberg or people that transition from rap to, you know, I'm not trying to compare Marky Mark to Tupac. I mean, that's comparing, you know, that's not a good comparison. But my point is that you could start off in rap and then eventually do it to where you're doing a lot more movies. And I think that's what Tupac would have been. But he would have stayed in prison, done his time, gotten out. He would have had all types of lyrics and stuff written. He would have stayed out of the East Coast, West Coast battle. He would still be alive. And in a way, maybe even Biggie would still be alive. It probably would have slowed him down to where, you know, if you serve a little time, you're going to think twice before you're jaywalking. You're going to think twice before you get into it with people. And I think Tupac needed that wake-up call. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, like where he's jumping the guy in the Las Vegas casino. And, I mean, you know you're on camera. And I think some guys just need, like, you need to do your time. And I know it's easy for me to say, but looking back on it, it would have saved his life. It would have saved him money. He ended up signing a three album deal with Death Row with Suge Knight. So you're telling me that you're getting out of prison, but not only did he have to make All Eyes on Me, but he still would have had to make 2 more albums for Suge Knight, who's a crook or whatever he is. So Tupac still would have been in financial in a bad spot. It's just one of those what ifs. You know, I'm a huge Tupac fan, and you know, when you look back at that time period, if one thing had gone just a little different, you know, maybe Tupac would still be with us today. I mean, I know it's a big what if, but and I get it that, you know, I would think Tupac's manager or something would have had another way for, you know, like if Suge comes and visits you and is dangling this, I'm going to pay your $1.4 million bail to get you out. I would think that Tupac's manager could have figured out another way to get Tupac out of there instead of having to sign a deal with the devil. And because I know Tupac got out and then he's all death row and all that, but I think like some of that was like not brainwashing, but like I really don't think that Tupac was as bad of a guy as Suge Knight was. Just from all accounts, he was just a bad guy personified. And whether it's extortion or whatever, I really think that if you're Tupac's manager, you would have done everything in your power to explain to Tupac, like, let's sign a deal with somebody else. There's someone better, you know, for you to do a deal with. So it's just one of those things that I've always kind of wondered about. Obviously, you know, it's too late for any of that, but it's just kind of interesting to me. And, but yeah, no, so, not much else going on. Just wanted to, bring that idea up. And, I'm just chilling in the car, going for a little car ride here and listening to some hip hop. But no, I hope everyone is doing well. And, someone put in the comments what's, you know, something about Tupac that you really liked, and like the video, and talk to you guys later. Bye.